and that was me deep inside the heart of the Elidir Mountain in North Wales, and you can find out exactly what I was up to a bit later on in the programme. But first, news of that exciting scheme from America to train dogs to act as the ears for deaf people. You may remember it was this time last February when we first met Favour, who was the first British dog chosen to be trained as a hearing dog for the deaf. Well, now, a year later, Favour's back in the studio, together with the first British trainer of hearing dogs, Tony Blunt.
Welcome to the programme, Tony. What was Favour like to train?
It was a little bit of a challenge, really, but an interesting one, because I'm used to dealing with dogs of the German Shepherd size, but now I'm dealing with this size, and they're all mongrels. They have lovely characters, and I enjoy working with them.
Just in case you missed seeing Favour last year, I better explain that hearing dogs for the deaf are trained especially to respond to a variety of everyday sounds around the house, like a kettle whistling, and then they alert their deaf owners to that noise by giving them a nudge or a pat with their paw. What's the first thing that a dog has to learn, Tony?
The first thing is this squeaker ball. It's a
Squeaker
little squeaky
ball,
ball that calls the dog to the owner whenever you sound it. I'll show you. His attention is aroused immediately you do this, you see.
Yeah. Then, when he's learnt to do that, how do you select the particular sounds that that dog should learn?
Well, they all learn the basic sounds, which is the squeaker ball, the alarm clock, and the usual doorbell and the door knock, because nearly everybody wants that done. And then we go on to specialisation for some people request the telephone, the baby crying, for instance, if it's a young mother with a baby. You've got the whistling kettle or the cooker timer when your cake is done.
And does Favour know those sounds?
He knows most of them, yeah.
Can respond to those. Well, I tell you what, we'll take Favour over now to the bedroom and living room that we've got set up over here. Come on, boy, come on. I should think this is the best sort of surroundings for the dog to learn in, aren't they?
Yes, this is fine, because all the training is done in a home environment, because this is where they work. They work 24 hours in the person's home.
Well, all right then, boy, we're going to put you to the test now. If you make yourself comfortable in bed, Tony, and we'll wait for you to settle in there, and then I'll let Favour off his lead, and we'll see how he reacts to the alarm clock, which should go off any minute now.
Good morning, boy. Good morning, dog. Good morning. Is it time to get up already? Hey, come here then. There's a good boy. Right, come here then. Down. Favour. Down. Down. Good dog. There's a good dog. What is it? Oh, it's Samantha having trouble, is it? Samantha having trouble. There. That's better. That's better. There we are. Lie down then. Lie down. Good lad. Get down. What is it? Good boy, the telephone is ringing. Hello. Hello there. Good. Thank you. What is it? Good boy, somebody at the door. Is that it? Yes.
Well done, boy. Well
Hello.
done. Hello, have a leave, Tony. Thanks very much. Come in, Gillian. I brought
Favour.
Gillian with me to your nice, cosy living room. Sit down. Now, Gillian Lacey also works for Hearing Dogs for the Deaf, and she's the person who selects which dog should go to which deaf owner. How do you set about doing that, Gillian?
Well, the most important thing, obviously, the person has to be severely or profoundly deaf. And then they have to show a real need for a hearing dog, so they should live alone or with another deaf or handicapped person.
How long does it take you to train a hearing dog, Tony?
4 months is the course.
And are there any particular types of dogs that you would especially look for?
No, as long as they have a very good temperament, they're friendly dogs, outgoing, they're not nervous at all, and most of all, of course, they respond to the sounds.
Well, you can see how many different dogs are trained for hearing dogs for the deaf, because Tony's training 4 at the moment. You've already met Favour, and the other 3 are coming in with Pete at the moment.
Here they are. They're all strays from the National Canine Defence League kennels up in Petersfield, and Tony and Jill have taken them on treats them to be hearing dogs. So I'll just introduce you to them. Now, the white one, she's called Lady, and she's a collie mixed up with a bit of Samoyed. She's 2 years old. This one here is called Gemma. She's got a little white mark. She's a collie cross, and she's 16-month-old. And finally, come round here. This is Chum. She's the all-black one, and she's a lab cross, and she's 16 months old. There you are. Now you know who they are. What stage of training are they at?
Well, Lady and Gemma are halfway through their course now. I've had them for 2 months, and they respond to the alarm clock, the doorbell, and the...
Climbing on people.
That's right, and the knocking. Little Chum, I've only just started, so she's learning the squeaker ball and the alarm clock at the moment.
Now, their obedience training, is it the same as for guide dogs?
No. I start about halfway through the course, and they learn basic obedience. But as well as voice, we use hand signals, because a lot of people have, well, no voice at all, or they make various sounds that the dog can't understand. So I'm going to hand signals. Would you like to
I'd love to see that, yes. I'll keep these 3 girls under control if I can.
Into you. And when we want the dog to come to us, that was the sit and the down, we clap our hands and the dog comes back to us.
Oi. I've noticed they're all bitches. Is that just mere coincidence or what?
Yes, in this instance, yes. I tested 10 dogs, 5 male and 5 female, and all the females passed the test.
No,
the
it's
dog's
superior, really. Nothing you can do about it. Tell you what, Tony, something I'm a bit curious about. Why does a hearing dog have to respond to a telephone bell? Because if the deaf person can't hear the telephone ringing, how can he hear the person speaking on the other end of the phone?
Yes, that's a good point. Some of the deaf people have the use of sophisticated hearing aids, and that instance that connects to the hand set, and they can talk like you and I. But coming over to this country for the first time is an American system of teleprinter telephone, which means that when it rings, you put the handset onto like a typewriter, and they can type messages to each other.
Like a visual conversation,
That's
really.
right, yes.
Gillian, which dogs will be going first? Which dog will be going to an owner first?
Lady, the white one, will be placed first. She'll be going to an elderly lady in Southend, probably at the end of March.
And will she just go and be left there? Or?
No, I go and stay nearby for about a week, and then I go in every day and make sure that Lady switches over to the deaf person and doesn't keep working or looking for one of us to work too.
Gosh, that's very important.
I wish you all the best of luck, and to the dogs, and I'm sure they'll become as much loved companions as guide dogs are.
Thank you very much.
Yes, we do wish them all the very best of luck. I don't know about you, but I thought Favour's display was absolutely superb. What do you think, Goldie? She was taking it all in. Stop yawning. Well, now for a flashback to Blue Peter 4 years ago, when I visited the Elidir Mountain in North Wales. It must be one of the most unusual mountains in Britain, because it's the site of what's going to become the largest pump storage power station in the world. And when it's finished, it will have cost over £400 million. When I first went inside, an amazing sight met my eyes. The army of construction engineers had just dug out the largest man-made hole in Europe. Well, I can give you some idea of just how the power station works with this drawing here. It's very simple, but brilliantly effective. Billions of gallons of water from a reservoir near the top of the mountain here will be released into this tunnel and then will pour down this vertical shaft, which incidentally is nearly 1 mile long, and it goes right through the heart of the mountain, so that by the time that the water reaches the power station at the bottom, it's going at such an incredible speed, it will turn the giant machines which will generate electricity here. Well, the De Norwich Pump Storage Power Station, to give it its proper title, is due to be completed very soon. And when I visited the site last week with project manager Yori Ellis, I found quite a few changes had taken place in the last 2 years. De Norwich used to be a slate quarry, and the old buildings still remain on the mountainside. The power station offices have been carefully built out of the local slate, so they blend in with their surroundings. Electricity will be generated at times when demand is high from the energy of the water flowing from the top reservoir to the bottom. Later, at night time, when demand is low, the surplus electricity from the national grid will be used to pump the water back up the mountain, ready for the next peak in demand. Yori took me to see the heart of the system, the caverns deep in the mountain that house the turbines that produce the electricity.
It's like Star Wars.
Yeah, fantastic site. Everything about De Norwich is massive. This main entrance tunnel is 7 kilometres long.
Yes, the valve is open now with the counterweight up.
That's that huge yellow arm, is it?
That's right, yes. So that if in an emergency one wanted to shut the valve and we'd lost all supply, the counterweight would automatically shut the valve.
So it's a safety
It is a
feature.
safety, yes, it is, yes. It makes it feel safe.
What sort of pressure of water is coming through there at the moment?
Well, it's just under half a ton per square inch. But it does surge to higher pressures when if the valve suddenly shut, for example, the water, there would be a surge of pressure behind the valve.
Right. It's extraordinary. And of course, we were walking down there the last time I was here.
Yes, the last time.
2 years ago, I'd walked along the tunnel that was now filled with rushing water. One gigantic high-pressure tunnel, 10 metres across, branches off to the smaller tunnels that take the water to the turbines. Today, it would be impossible to survive here with 420 tonnes of water pounding through each second.
Right, yes. Should we go on? All right, yes, certainly, yeah.
Everything about De Norwich is on a giant scale, and I was glad when Yori produced a chart that shows how it all works. After it's passed through the valve, the water flows through a giant turbine with blades 9 metres across. The turbine is connected to a huge metal shaft, and at the other end is the generator that produces the electricity. The machine hall which houses the generators is simply enormous, and on my first visit 4 years ago, it was empty, the largest man-made hole in Europe. It was as high as a 16-storey building, and big enough to take 2 full-size football pitches. That is amazing. You've certainly been busy since I saw you last.
Oh, there's a terrific change, isn't there?
Fantastic transformation.
Yes.
Well, I don't think any of these officers were here.
No, I think the steelwork may have been put up and then, yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
One thing I've been dying to ask you, how on earth do you get all this machinery in here, inside the mountain?
Well, some of the bits and pieces, they're small enough, we brought them in whole. Other
With
bits.
cranes?
Well, yes, we'll bring them in on road transport and then offload them by the cranes that we have here and install them, using mobile cranes as well. But the very large components for the pump turbine, for example, and the generator motor, they're far too large to come in as a unit. So we couldn't manufacture them in the works, so we brought them in by bits, by sea to Port Henry near Bangor, and then by road here. And then they've been assembled and fabricated on site. So virtually this has been a factory for manufacturing turbines and generator motors.
If there was an emergency and you needed to get power from De Norwich as quickly as possible, what's the quickest that you could start the plant up?
We can pick up in 10 seconds 1,320 megawatts, which as far as we're aware is the fastest load pickup in the world. And you've got to bear in mind that the full output of De Norwich, about 1,800 megawatts, is equivalent to the average demand for the whole of Wales.
The equipment that's in here, is it envisaged that it will last for a lifetime, indefinitely?
We've designed the plant with a 40-year life. Some of it will have a longer life than that. The civil engineering works, we've assumed, will have an 80-year life, but in reality, I'm confident that people will be generating electricity here not only in 1,000 years but in 2,000 years, but they will not be using the same equipment. But the basic station will still be viable, for thousands of years to come.
At the moment, only 3 of the 6 generators are finished and capped, ready for use. They produce electricity on demand, and startup always causes a stir of excitement. This is the control room right in the heart of the power station, and any second now I've been given the chance to start the water flow and actually generate electricity. It really is an exciting moment for me because I've watched this whole project grow from a mere hole in the mountain to the fantastic system that it is today. Right, Alan and Jeff, we ready?
We are ready when you are, Sam.
Fingers crossed.
Right. If you'll select generate for me, please.
Select the generate mode.
Yes.
And now we would like you to initiate a start. If you rotate and then press down.
Is that it?
That is it. And you now have a machine that's beginning to start up.
That's incredible. It seemed incredible that just one small switch could release such power. The noise of the rushing water and spinning generators was absolutely deafening. Each generator delivers enough electricity to run 1/3 electric fires, but at a comparatively low voltage. In the transformer hall, this has stepped up to 400,000 volts, so that it can be fed into the national grid. Despite the enormous building problems, the operation of the Dinorwic power station is actually much more simple than other types of power stations which burn oil or use nuclear fuels. Now, once the electricity has been generated, it arrives here in these massive pipes which you can see all around me. Inside the pipes are aluminium bars that actually carry the electricity. Once through that wall there, they join up with a vast network of electrical cables belonging to the national grid that will carry it into homes all over the country. When you switch on the cooker or turn on your telly in the future, the electricity might well be coming from here at Dinorwic, the largest pump storage power station in the world. It's a magnificent achievement and a great tribute to the engineers who created it that they've preserved the rugged beauty of the Welsh mountains.
You'd never know it was underneath there, would you?
No, it's...
That's something I was going to ask you, actually. You can't tell how much of the countryside has been not damaged, but
no,
has
been
maybe changed. Yes.
No.
What was your impression from seeing the surrounding area?
Well, it's extraordinary because you're driving along from Bangor in the car down to the village, and you see this mountain, but you've no idea what's going on inside there. So it's incredible. They've really done a great job in preserving the beauty. But when you get in the mountain, you know, you expect somebody like James Bond to come leaping out, or
That's exactly what
Bert
I thought.
Skywalker. Who's that used out of Star Wars?
Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker. Yeah, it's just amazing. But outside, they've preserved the natural beauty, and it all blends in with the Welsh scenery. So
That's
it's
beautiful,
a fantastic
and it's
job.
doing such a good job. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, you may not realise it, but this month marks a very important anniversary, not of a famous building or of a famous person even, but it was exactly 30 years ago, on February the 4th, 1953, that children all over Britain were told that at long last, sweet rationing had ended. Well, it's very hard to believe when you look around today's well-stocked shelves that once upon a time, not so long ago, children just couldn't go into the sweet shop and buy all the chockies and sweets that they wanted. Because even though the Second World War had ended more than 7 years earlier, sweets and chocolates were still in such short supply that rationing had to be continued. In fact, during the war, a bar of chocolate just this size would have to last you a whole week. And it wasn't just sweets either. All kinds of foods were rationed. There was even a Ministry of Food set up to make sure that everybody got their fair shares, and they were very anxious that not a crumb should be wasted. In fact, when you went along to the cinema, this is the kind of thing you used to see.
Do you find the last part of the loaf difficult to cut? Try doing it this way. Lay it down like this, then cut it in slices like this. Everyone gets a piece of the end crust, and you don't cut your fingers.
Well, in order to get your food, first of all, you had to be issued with these special ration books. Now, this one on the top, this was issued in 1943, and this was for people aged 5 to 18. First of all, you had to put your name and your address on the cover, and then you had to be very careful that you didn't lose it. Now, if I just have a flick through, you can see that it's full of these little coupons, lots and lots. And those ones that say personal points, they were for sweets, some of those, and then further up at the front of the book, there are special pages for things like meat, eggs, fats, and cheese, and so on. And each coupon in the book entitled you to a certain amount of food and no more. Food was in such short supply in Britain because a lot of what we were eating came in from overseas, and the ships carrying that food were often attacked by enemy submarines and planes, so everything was very scarce. The precious cargoes that did manage to reach the British ports had to be fairly shared, and children got used to their parents collecting the rations and queuing for hours for other things that were in short supply. And they couldn't go into any old shop they liked either. You had to be registered at one grocer, and that was the only shop you were allowed to go to buy your rations. And if you'd like to see exactly what your ration book entitled you to, have a look at the food that Simon's got.
Well, on these plates are the rations for one person. Now, you might think you could eat all this lot in one meal, but this wasn't even the rations for one day. This lot here had to last you one whole week. Anyway, this is what you got. 6pence worth of meat, and for that you got 1 chop and a bit of corned beef, 4 ounces of bacon, which amounted to 2 slices, 1 egg, that's if you were lucky, because eggs weren't always very easy to come by, 8 ounces of sugar, and with those 8 ounces that had to be for making your tea and also for baking cakes as well. You've got 2 ounces of tea itself, and then you've got 2 ounces of jam, 2 ounces of cheese, and finally 6 ounces of fat. Well, you may say, how on earth could anybody survive? How could they live on that? But in actual fact, nobody actually starved. You could still get vegetables and you could get bread off the rations, but it was boring and it was dull. There were no treats, you couldn't get ice cream, you couldn't have icing on your birthday cake even, unless you used up your sugar rations. And as Sarah said, as far as sweets was concerned, well, this was all one child got in 1 week, 1 measly bar of chocolate. But now and then, the Ministry of Food announced a few little extras to cheer people up. And back in the 1940s, I bet there were a few small boys who were absolutely delighted when they sat in the cinema and saw this food flash.
Calling young workers. Feeling tired or bored? Don't care what goes on or what goes by? Here's one good answer. National Milk Cocoa. Ask for it at work. It builds you up, it cheers you up, and makes life look so different.
I bet that cheered them up a treat. Well, after the war ended, everybody thought that rationing would end straight away, but in fact it took a long time. The government tried to end sweet rationing as soon as possible, and on the 24th of April 1949 they declared it was over, and that was a signal for a huge rush to the shops. People literally stuffed themselves with chocolates, and despite the tummy aches, the stocks were completely cleaned out. And so just a couple of months later, the government had to reintroduce sweet rationing, and this time it went on for 4.5 years. But at last, on February the 4th, 1953, sweet rationing was over for good. But was that such a great thing? Because dentists have said that children's teeth were never so healthy as they were during the 11 years that sweets and chocolates were rationed.
And they've never been as good since either.
No.
True. So next time you fancy digging into a luscious box of chocolates to rot your teeth, why don't you try a nice raw carrot like this, or dig into a nice crispy apple?
Yeah,
Much more healthy.
Great idea, that, because you'd certainly be a lot better off. Anyway, just before we go, a final word about our mystery object competition, because the entries for that are going to close this week. Now's your chance to have a final look and a final listen to it. See if you can guess what this weird and rather wonderful object is. It's obviously a kind of musical box with a double purpose, and you'd be surprised at some of the answers that have been coming in so far.
Well, we can tell you what it isn't for a start. It's not a pencil sharpener, it's not a musical nutcracker, and it certainly isn't a musical roundabout with the roundabout bit fallen off.
Neither is it. I love this one. This is priceless. This is classic. The mystery object is the base of a rotating musical birdcage.
Imagine putting a bird inside that. It would go berserk, wouldn't it?
So it's not one of them either. So lots of things it could be. It is a bit of a teaser, this one. But anyway, have a think about it. And when you've had a good long think, get a postcard and write down on one half, the mystery object is ... And then on the other half there, your name, your age and your address. And then this is the address to send it to. Blue Peter, Mystery Object, BBC TV Centre, London, W12 8QT. So I'll repeat that for you. It's Blue Peter, Mystery Object, BBC TV Centre, London, W12 8QT.
Now, if there are any, we'll be putting the correct answers into a tombola the week after next, picking out a winner. Well, next Thursday, I'll be showing you a good trick, how to keep your neck and wrists warm.
I could have needed that. I should be up to my ears in snow.
And what's more, would you believe we'll have an aircraft, a fully operational aircraft, nevertheless, here in the studio, all revved up, ready to go on an epic flight to Africa. So it should all be worth seeing on Thursday. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.
Like about mine.